More so than ever before, the key to success in Champ Car is qualifying. Do well Friday and Saturday, and the odds dictate you will be one happy driver Sunday afternoon. In 9 previous races, top 6 qualifiers won 7. Only twice did somebody outside of the top 3 rows win. Sebastian Bourdais at Edmonton, Cristiano D'Amata in Portland, both had qualified 10th. That aside, it seems to be a regular thing. Do the math. Good outing on Friday and Saturday, and your chance for happiness on Sunday is good. Very good. This is the 4th edition of Molson Indy Montreal qualifying on the Global Television Network. Welcome to Montreal, a city that knows very well what makes a champion and what racing is all about. The Molson Indy back for its 4th time here, a festival activity. Crescent Street closed to traffic so fans can soak up the racing flavor. The ability to mingle is what separates Champ Car from F1 racing, as racing fans get an up-and-close personal look at their favorite drivers and cars. Plenty of action in the paddock. Todd Lewis, who are they talking about?
Well, they are talking about the defending series champion. He has become the focus of the entire Champ Car World Series through the last 3 events. Sebastian Bourdais has been unbeatable. Starting mid-pack in Edmonton, circumstances played out beautifully, allowing him to come from 10th at the start to 1st at the finish, and he claimed his 2nd victory of the season. In San Jose, it was a dominating performance. Starting from the pole position, he bounced his way around the track, holding off any challenge for his 2nd straight victory. Just 2 weeks ago in Denver, it was good fortune that helped Bourdais once again. Paul Tracy crashed out. Sebastian Bourdais was there to collect his 3rd straight victory. Sebastian Bourdais has been the dominating force over the last 3 events in the Champ Car World Series. And have a look at how the standings have changed. Actually, heading into the Toronto race, it was Paul Tracy with the overall championship lead by 1 point over Sebastian Bourdais. That has changed dramatically over the last 3 events. It's Sebastian Bourdais who led by 53 coming into activities in Montreal. That makes the battle for 2nd place now. Paul Tracy currently holding the 2nd spot and trying to catch Sebastian and hold off the challenges of others. Since moving over to Newman Haas, Oriol Serbia has been on the podium regularly, scoring points at an incredible clip. Just behind him in 4th, Justin Wilson, 4th place overall, got his 1st win of the year in Toronto.
Other drivers looking to make a name for themselves this weekend. Local driver Alex Tagliani, 2 years ago, had the pole here and finished 4th. Now driving for his 3rd team in 4 years as a 3rd and 4th place finish this year. And of course, when we're talking about local drivers, let's not forget about Andrew Ranger, 3rd among rookies in points, 2nd in Monterey, and that was only his 2nd Champ Car start of his career. Andrew Ranger, will he do it? Well, we'll see. There's plenty to go on this weekend. Hi, everybody. Jim Taddy welcoming you to Molson Indy Montreal qualifying across the Global Television Network as we sit atop Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. And from our location, we can look down to where the finish line is, and will be a joyous occasion for somebody come Sunday afternoon. Chris McClure and Jan Beekes will be calling our qualifying today, and of course, we'll set the stage for us shortly. Don Martin is in the pits. You heard Todd Lewis, and we'll see him shortly. This is a windy location tonight, but I can tell you with all honesty, Champ Car, the racing series, has weathered the storm. Check out the attendance for the last 4 events. Toronto is a mainstay, always at that figure or higher. Inaugural races in Edmonton, San Jose that really went over gangbusters, 212,000 in Edmonton, and Denver the last time out, 148,000. Sebastian Bourdais is the headline rider in this series this year, but on this particular course in 2003, 19th, and in 2004, 15th. We now are joined by Todd Lewis, who is co-hosting with yours truly tonight. And Todd, one way or the other, Bourdais will write the headline here.
Well, you're right, and he's trying to turn around his luck in Montreal. If he can, he'll do something that is very special. Win 4 straight races here on the Champ Car World Series, becoming the 4th man to do so. It began with Al Unser Jr. in 1990, who picked up 4 straight victories on his way to a championship, beginning at Laguna Seca and ending with the Molson Indy in Toronto. Alex Zanardi, the next to accomplish it in the modern era, 4 straight victories on his way to a championship in 1998. The last man to do it, well, it was Cristiano D'Amata. Again, a series champion, 4 straight victories, 7 in total that year for his championship. Sebastian Bourdais has made it look easy. Don Martin was able to catch up with him and ask him about his success earlier today.
It's been almost too easy for Sebastian Bourdais. 3 straight wins. Doesn't seem to matter where you qualify or how you qualify. You're getting the job done.
Well, last year we had a lot of pole positions. This year it's true that it's slightly more difficult for the Magnus team, but we still get the job done, and that's what really matters.
Now, how serious are you about this conservative approach and just finishing an average of 4th over the last 5 races of the year?
I'm not saying we're going to be conservative. I'm only saying that we don't need to necessarily win, and we can be satisfied with the P4. It doesn't mean I'm not going to try and win races. It's obviously the safest place to be on the field is to start from the front and try and win races, so we'll do that.
The only man that may be able to stop the streak, Paul Tracy. He did exactly that a year ago in Vancouver, claiming his second straight win on that city street. Tracy has been chasing Sebastian Bourdais lately, though. In San Jose, he ran second and couldn't catch him all afternoon long. Paul Tracy forced to settle for another spot on the podium. In Denver, he clearly had the best car, but couldn't survive the course, crashing into the wall. Sebastian Bourdais there to claim another victory. Tracy left to suffer in silence. Earlier today, spoke with Don Martin. Paul Tracy has had success, but not so much here in Montreal as he tries to catch the leader.
Well, we all know Paul Tracy comes into Montreal some 50 points down to Sebastian Bourdais, and yet you've never led a lap at this track. Do you have a hard time coming in here with any kind of confidence?
Well, I think we're better this year. We started off the session this morning second quick, so we're improving. I haven't had the best car here in my 4 years previous, so I'm looking forward to this weekend. I've had a great car all year, and you know, if we can have some luck this weekend, hopefully we can get it to the top step of the podium.
It's been a slow death. He's been so consistent, and he's talking a good talk about being conservative from here on in, averaging a 4th place finish to clinch the title. But I can't believe once you're on the track that he'll give up even an inch of pavement. He doesn't have to.
Well, he doesn't have to, but you know, if he plays the conservative game and slips back into some guys that are a little bit more desperate for a good position, then you might get yourself in trouble. So, you know, us, the bottom line is we have to beat him, and he's got to have some bad luck, and, you know, we're just going to have to beat him first.
So here's the order of business for qualifying. 2 championship points at stake, 1 on the line yesterday, 1 today, and of course, Paul Tracy very badly wanted both of those points. And here's what he did in qualifying yesterday. First out of the gate, a strategy to cash in on a clear track, and with 20 minutes to go, he did have the provisional pole. It didn't last long. Sebastian Bourdais bettered the standard and then bettered his own standard, and the session cut short due to this. Turn 6, Andrew Ranger, with about 9 minutes to go, loses it, smacks into the wall. The session is over, and I'm glad to say it looks worse than it was. The Champ Car safety team on the scene, and all this is precautionary. They took him to the Champ Car Medical Center. About a half hour of observation later, they pronounced him fit and ready to go for the weekend. So he had something to atone for in Saturday's session. So as far as the championship points are concerned, Bourdais with the provisional pole on Friday now goes up by 54 points. And Paul Tracy would have something to say about that today, perhaps. We'll find out. He stood 3rd yesterday, Tagliani 10th, and Andrew Ranger 15th. And of course, his day shortened by that accident in turn 6. Now, we welcome back Jan Beekes and Chris McClure. And Chris, what can we look forward to here?
Well, I think the usual suspects that we saw step to the fore on Friday will still be there. The Newman-Haas team, 1-2 overnight, and Paul Tracy leading the Forsyth team in their effort to catch up. They're not that far behind, but Jan, I think we can safely say in this particular instance, there are other teams stepping to the fore to bring more pressure.
There are, and I think if you look at the past history of a road course or a faster circuit, that's when you see the teams like PKV or Rousport. They have a setup that works on the high-speed courses. They struggled the last few races. It doesn't mean they're out of the championship or out of a win of a race because they're bumpy. They take a different setup. Here, much different story.
Well, let's talk about Bourdais for just a moment then. He's threatening to run away with the championship. Must he be caught and derailed, or must he derail himself?
I think he's going to have to derail himself, especially if you're talking qualifying. Today in qualifying, we know that Sebastian Bourdais is the master. He has a great team. They love this racetrack, and it's going to take a Herculean effort by somebody to knock him off. He's awesome.
He is awesome, and a lot of them are drawing a bead on him, trying to knock him down a peg or two. Can they do it? Well, we're going to find out in just a few minutes. Jim?
Thank you very much, Chris and Jan. Nice to have you back. And of course, as you heard, Paul Tracy and Sebastian Bourdais again battling. They're our storyline. We'll see how it develops as Molson Indy Montreal qualifying continues right after this.
It's true that the higher a pit tank is above a race car during a pit stop, the faster the fuel will flow into the car. So Champ Car has a set of rules about tank placement. It goes something like this. The maximum it can be above the car, the plane of the car in the pit, is 84 inches. The top of the tank is what we're concerned about. Take a level from the top of the tank, center the bubble, 84 inches. This Rocket Sports tank is legal. There's something else to consider. The tank cannot be over the car. You can't use a boom, you can't put the tank out over the wall. It has to be behind the plane of the inside of the pit wall. A level, a bubble, here's that plane. This tank is legal. Every tank in the pit is set up the same way. So come race day, during each round of pit stops, there are no advantages from a fueling standpoint.
Molson is proud to be the title sponsor of the Molson Indy Montreal 2005. Over the past 3 years, the Molson Indy has become part of what makes Montreal a great place to visit. It puts the city on a world stage with thousands of fans in the stands over the race weekend and millions watching on TV around the world. With our involvement with the Molson Indy throughout the Canadian circuit, Molson is without a doubt a true leader of the Canadian motorsport scene. Today, we are once again extremely happy to bring a unique and electrifying experience to all Montrealers. On behalf of all Molson employees and loyal consumers, I'd like to wish the best of luck to all drivers. With our 3 outstanding Canadian drivers, this year Molson Indy is sure to be spectacular and filled with excitement. I'd like to wish a great Molson Indy to all.
There we go, early stages of Saturday qualifying. Bourdais already leading the way. Look at Rodolfo Levine, he's back in the harness. Now let's join Jan Beekes and Chris McClure.
We're in the early moments of qualifying. We've had several runners out, including Paul Tracy, but he's been unable to come up with a really significant lap. Now Wilson, who had an engine issue or a transmission issue with the car this morning in a small fire, turned out to be the fastest in the warm-up just a few moments ago. He's about to conclude a lap. We'll see if he can get up. He goes right to the top at 1:22.85, 1:21.633. His Saturday time now is the fastest of the weekend in qualifying.
Paul Tracy and Mario Dominguez still out on the racetrack. Paul Tracy was the first to leave pit road, but has been unable to capitalize on putting together a fast time. He gets up to speed, he gets down to turn 1, turn 2, the car gets loose, and he aborts the laps. This time, we'll see if he can hang on.
Dominguez, meantime, has turned into 1:22.085. His Saturday time is now his best qualifying of the weekend, and there you see the Forsyth runners almost nose to tail on the course.
Paul Tracy through clean. That is the chicane that he's also had some trouble in. Paul Tracy, traditionally, at least this weekend, if he can get through the first section of corners and keep that momentum, he will be fast.
So we watch the progress of this lap. Tracy in a better position because he's in front of his teammate. A little less buffeting back there through turns 9 and 10. Down to the hairpin next. Wilson at the top, that is a Saturday time. Bourdais and Servia standing on Friday's times. They have not been on course yet. Dominguez has a new time front today that puts him 4th, and Allmendinger is in 5th position. He was well out of the top 5 yesterday, so he's also going pretty quickly, and he is on his Saturday time. Here come the Forsyth runners on the straightaway. We'll get the report right about now for Tracy, and he goes to the top on 21.6. And Dominguez goes 1:21.691. So this two-car freight train paid off.
Amazing, because normally when you see the positioning of Mario Dominguez, he is close enough to where there is a bit of aerodynamic wash, and you can see the front brakes locking for Paul Tracy. But amazing that Mario Dominguez can run that quickly so close to his teammate. Typically, you have to leave more room.
And he is leaving him more room this lap. He's dropped back and let Tracy go. Tracy continues on at speed. Saw him lock up the brakes a couple of turns ago, and Dominguez is now out of the frame as Tracy's off running alone, and again the left front lights up just a little bit as he turns in. On 21.6 for Paul Tracy on the first set of tires.
And Wilson's doing better, at least at this section of the racetrack. He also has a bit of front brake lockup, but that was the inside front. That should be okay. With good drive, look for Wilson to challenge back.
Well, he's already posted his best time of the weekend just a couple of laps ago, and now he's about a quarter of a mile away from giving us a report on this effort. Did it matter? No, it didn't matter. 121.007 for Wilson. The lockup not damaging, as you suggested.
No, when you said no, I was saying yes, he went to the top. Yes, there was no damage done on the brake lockup, but certainly there's a lot of damage done in lap time. Justin Wilson flying.
And still going fast. He found something in the warm-up. This morning he was going quicker than he had all weekend, and then he had a small fire in the engine compartment. It was reported to have been gearbox related. They did not have to change engines, and as I mentioned in the warm-up, he was lightning quick, and he's making it pay off here in the qualifying. And his teammate AJ Allmendinger out there sitting in 4th position, 121.661. Now here is a team that was so strong in Edmonton and Toronto, and then there was a little hiccup there, and now back to the front of the field it would appear. You don't think that's because anything happened to the team. You thought it was other factors, like the kind of course they were on.
Yeah, I think it's a case of if you have a setup that works on a road course or a place like here in Montreal, and I think this will be more a start for Allmendinger of a quick lap. He moves up 1 position, but there was a section on the racetrack where he lost some time, so look for this one in his mind to be building the momentum. Again, the setup that they have here would be similar to what you would use in Portland. They were lightning fast there. They were fast in Edmonton. It's the bumpy street courses that they had trouble with.
So the overnight pole belonged to Bourdais. He's still on the front row. He's yet to go out in this qualifying, and a lot of people are after it.
A lot of Chargers still to come, including Mario Dominguez. It's been a season of highs and lows since he took over this ride at the beginning of the year. Here's one of the lows in Toronto at the Molson Indy. AJ Allmendinger hits the walls, and then Mario Dominguez can't turn quickly enough, and he hits AJ Allmendinger. We mentioned the season that did start off well, though, for Mario Dominguez. He did have a top 5 in the opening event at Long Beach, and it has been some struggles, though, through the middle part of the season. DNFs at Cleveland, Toronto, of course, and at Edmonton, but he does have a couple of victories. He's always been thought of as a strong contender, and Jerry Forsyth wanted to give him a ride with the top team just to see what he could do. And Mario Dominguez talked about what has turned around his season as he begins to gel with his new team at Forsyth.
Mario Dominguez comes off a 2nd-place finish in Denver and 3rd here a year ago in Montreal. You have to come in with a certain amount of confidence.
Absolutely. The finish we got 2 weeks ago in Denver, it gives us a lot of confidence. It's a big boost for the team and for myself, and then obviously coming to a place like Montreal, which I like very much and which I've had good results in the past, makes me even more confident. So I'm definitely looking forward for a good result here.
I don't want to bring back bad memories, but you were in the wrong place at the wrong time, running into AJ Allmendinger coming off the lakeshore in Toronto, but then your season turned around. Any particular reason for that?
Well, you know, we just have to be more consistent in every race, and you just got to keep on working hard. And that's what we've been doing all the time for the whole season. So it's getting better and better.
Great look at the beautiful city of Montreal. Our qualifying continues from Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Stay with us as the Molson Indy Montreal continues.
Welcome back. The sun's starting to set in the city of Montreal as we set the qualifying grid for you for this year's Molson Indy Montreal. The wind's still howling, the action hot this afternoon. Justin Wilson, a surprise guy, setting the pace so far. Let's pick it up with Jan Beekes and Chris McClure.
AJ Allmendinger still on his first set of tires, looking to climb up from 3rd as he moves through the twisty bits up near the river. Turns 9 and 10 coming up. Is he going fast, Jan?
He is. He's got some quick split times, but there's cars ahead. But Nelson Philippe, who he's catching, has been ultra quick. So as long as Nelson Philippe is on a quick lap, doesn't impede AJ Allmendinger at the moment. He has got faster split times, each and every one. He'll be close to the top if he can hang on in the hairpin.
We've burned about 15 minutes of the 35 that are allowed in the session. We only have to get 20 under the green flag, and the Newman Haas runners have yet to make an appearance on the track. Serbia has been moved all the way down to the 7th spot. Bourdais, the fastest Friday qualifier, is still listed on the front row. And look at Allmendinger as he displaces his teammate Justin Wilson with a 120.954 and then heads directly to the pit. lightning.
You'll see that Sebastian Bourdais is still listed in second position, hasn't even left the pits. Of course, that's part of the Champ Car qualifying rules. He will start on the front row regardless because the pressure is off. They haven't even left pit road. Everyone else put the rubber down on the racetrack.
The one-lap record for the record here is 1:18.959. I don't think they're going to get to that because of the changes in the course since that was set a couple of years ago. Repaving and then some repair done this year has made it a more slippery racing circuit, and they're not going to get to that standard, but they're still going plenty fast out there, and obviously the competition is just breathtaking. Meantime, the Newman-Haas cars are now on the circuit. Bourdais is out there a couple of laps into his warm-up. Also, Oriol Servia, there you see him on the screen. He's on his 5th trip around, so we'll see if this lap has a payoff. It's about time for the tires to come in fully and give him something to work with.
The only problem for Oriol Servia was the last time down here in the hairpin, he missed the apex by a mile, so he would slow in and slow out. So that's the worst place on the racetrack you can make a mistake because it kills 2 laps, not 1. This may be okay, but it's not going to be a pole run for sure.
Okay, let's see what this report is. He did come back up some, even though he didn't get a good entry into the lap. He went 1:21.248, better than Friday, and moved him into 4th.
But the scary thing for everyone else, and as his teammate as well, is that now is a great start of a lap for Oriol Servia as Bourdais finishes his.
And Bourdais goes right back to the top, 120.6 and some change. So Sebastian Bourdais, 3rd trip around, and he's got it nailed. Man, can he turn in a lap when he needs it.
When you see the other guys out there, Paul Tracy, Mario Dominguez, AJ Allmendinger, they're working so hard. Justin Wilson throwing the cars around. Newman-Haas rolls out almost like no big deal. Car stuck to the road, and Sebastian Bourdais knows, like you say, Chris, how to put it down when he needs it. Now, don't count out Oriol Servia. He's been fast this weekend.
And he's in turn 9 and now 10 coming down to the hairpin. What do the segments tell us, Jan Vikas? Is he getting anything good out of this one?
He had a couple of quick segments, and it looks like he aborted it. So he knew that he was quick in turn 1, 2, and 3, and now he's been losing time. It'll be okay. A little better on his personal best, but nowhere near Bourdais.
So he picked up the throttle coming off the hairpin. We'll get the time on this lap, but we don't expect it to be terribly significant. It's not. 1:21.107. He's still in the 4th position, and off he goes into another lap. This is his 7th trip around on this set of tires, and that could be a nearly exhausted set from a qualifying perspective. We'll have to wait and see. Of course, he did call off a couple of laps, so the stresses on the tires weren't as much as they would have been had he been charging for every lap he turned in. Bourdais comes around at 1:27.665, his 4th trip, so he has done a pole lap, perhaps, and then a slow down lap, and we expect he's back on the hammer once again, trying to improve that time even further.
You've talked about the adhesion of the tires for Oriol Servia probably being exhausted. That's what the split times are saying. He's having good driving lines. He's being quick, but it doesn't appear as though he hit the sweet spot. He's a little bit past the sweet spot. Decent lap times, decent split times, but again, just amazing that Sebastian Bourdais goes out there, boom, right to the top.
5th time around, Bourdais' lap continues. Paul Tracy, meantime, has done 12 laps, and he's in 5th position. Just did improve a moment ago. He's on his 2nd set of tires out there and only has 3 laps left, and then he'll have to park and watch the rest of them. So Paul Tracy, the early strategy, not a big payoff in this particular session.
It still could be because he is on his 2nd set of tires, and so there's still certainly an opportunity. We're watching Oriol Servia pretty much exhausting his 1st set. Paul Tracy's out trying to get going on his 2nd.
And here is Sebastian Bourdais coming off a 1:27 lap, now on the straightaway. What's it look like?
And he's faster again. He should be able to better his time.
Does he? Yes, he does, by a 10th and some. So Bourdais makes it tougher on the rest of them as he concludes his 5th trip around. Now, through turn 14 and 15, right after the timing lights, if he got him clean, and it looked as though he did, this could be even better as you track the the segments, Jan, what do you see from the first part of it?
So far, he's improving again. He's trying to lay down a time that no one can beat for the very reason he does not want to use another set of tires. This is going to be a 3-stop race, so therefore they do not want to use 2 sets of brand new Bridgestones here in qualifying. They want to save an extra for the race itself.
Here comes Serbia still on that first set, and he goes through the hairpin. This will exhaust it, I'm sure. He's concluding his 8th lap, and he'll probably hit the lights, and regardless of what it gives him, the lap time, he'll head for the pits would be my guess to get that second set of tires. The lap is over, it doesn't improve, and he heads for the pits. So what we expected is what he did. He'll consult quickly, and they have 12 minutes left in what has been an all-green session so far. And with 12 minutes left to go, that means they have gotten their minimum time in. Should we have something go wrong and get a red flag, they would stop and not have to owe anybody time. Here's Bourdais finishing the lap, and he picks up another 2/10. So he keeps moving it down, down, down toward that 120 segment. Sebastian Bourdais, when he needs a lap or wants a lap, he just simply doesn't.
But 11.5 minutes remaining in qualifying. Sebastian Bourdais up on top, just bettering himself, and it's not uncommon to see his name or that of Paul Tracy up on top of the timesheets over the last 3 seasons. They have been dominating in the Champ Car World Series. Either Tracy or Bourdais often on pole to start the Champ Car World Series events, and when they are on pole, they're very difficult to catch. But have a look at the qualifying efforts of Sebastian Bourdais. Since he arrived at the Champ Car World Series, he has been in top form. Only a couple of times has he not been in the front 3 rows to start a World Champ Car World Series event. Dominating fashion for Sebastian Bourdais. Can he stay on top? Stay with us. We'll let you know.
Welcome back, and let's set the stage for our coverage tomorrow. Race day coverage tomorrow live across the Global Television Network, 1 in the East, 10 on the West Coast, and that leads us up to green flag coverage at approximately 1:45 in the East, as they're often racing at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. You see the picture of Andrew Ranger there. He stands 3rd in the rookie points this season. Got off to a great start, 2nd in his 2nd ever race in Mexico, and of course is a graduate of the Toyota Atlantic Series, and they will have their championship finale tomorrow. With more on that, here is Chris and Jan.
It is indeed, Jim, a championship finale. Sometimes going into the last race, you know who the champion's going to be. This year, we do not. It's down to 2 players, but nonetheless, it has to be decided tomorrow. The 2 guys at the top of the points at the moment, Charles Wolzman and Tonis Casamets, those are the 2 that can win the championship. But you see some of the other people that are involved just below that, and we'd like to kind of turn our attention to a couple of those for just a moment or two with Jan Beekes. And Jan, Antoine Bissett is the first of those. A contender all through this year in his rookie season, a young man from Canada who's gotten a lot of attention.
He has had a lot of attention, and he's such an interesting driver because of his demeanor. He's just so laid back. He comes from rally racing. He loves to slide the car around, but he is just so laid back. It's almost like he's too loosey-goosey. I think he needs to get a little more focused, but certainly extremely talented.
And turning to in the top 5 in the standings this year, a lady who has won 3 events. The first woman to win a major open-wheeled race in North America, Catherine Legg. A lot of pressure on her to move ahead, but she says she needs some more time.
I think she does. There were a lot of people that certainly wanted to see her after 3 wins in the Atlantic Series. Hey, let's throw her in a Champ Car. But she says, I'm not ready. I need some more time. And I think with next year's series, with a change in engines and cars, I think it's a fantastic idea. She's definitely aggressive. She's fast, but wants more racecraft time.
Well, the Atlantic Series is a legendary training ground for the Champ Cars. A lot of these names you've just seen will be there in the next 2 or 3 years. And the good news is it's going to continue next year with a new car and a new engine formula, and that's just terrific.
And I think it has everybody all pumped up. They have 33 orders for cars already. And what's exciting, Cosworth power. We know that in the Champ Car World Series, obviously, Ford Cosworth, very close in power. And when you're in a development series, they're just so excited about the fact that it's just going to be anybody's championship. It'll be wild.
Well, the legend of the Atlantics will continue to build on down the road for a good long time, Todd.
Well, it's a great series, a great feeder series for the Champ Car World Series, and looking forward to a great future as well. That race is Sunday morning at 11 a.m. We'll have highlights on our race program. More of our qualifying highlights are coming up from Circuit Gilles Villeneuve shortly as we continue with our coverage of the Molson Indy Montreal.
Well, it's all Sebastian Bourdais now, but just 3 years ago it was Cristiano D'Amato, literally sitting right in his seat. 2002, 4 in a row, 7 all year, won the driving title, 1 right here in Montreal. Goes to F1, comes back this year with PKV Racing in his 4th race of the year, the Grand Prix of Portland. He wins it after starting 10th, a bit of an uphill climb. What has happened since? Well, it's been a real struggle for a former champion. Check it out. 10th is the high water mark in San Jose lately. And he talked with Don Martin earlier today.
We're not used to seeing Cristiano D'Amato outside the top 5, let alone the top 10 as the O2 Series champion, but 11th in the driver's standings. Aside from the win in Portland, where has it all gone wrong?
Yeah, we've gone wrong all in the street courses. We've been struggling big time in those type of tracks to try to find the correct setup of the car. It's been really a struggle in this type of tracks. Luckily, this part of the season is past now, and now we have mostly road courses towards the end of the season. Obviously, we still want to fix that. Obviously, for next year, would be extremely important if you want to have a proper shot for the championship to get our street course set up right.
So the important thing is there is a light at the end of the tunnel for you.
No, it's definitely a light. Everybody has the same car. It's just a matter of we getting our stuff right for that type of track. You know, we've been running okay in the permanent road courses, so there's no reason why we cannot do it on the streets too. It's just a matter of getting all those combinations right.
So this is where we stand. Seabass leading the way. About 7 minutes left in qualifying. So let's pick up the key moments now with Jan and Chris.
Justin Wilson working on 3rd position, trying to improve, trying to track down his teammate. There's a little bit of traffic gathering up in front of him.
He's a little bit better than his best, but not as good as Bourdais. So he may improve his personal best, but they have got to find some more. I'm not sure if anyone today can find the kind of speed to challenge Newman Haas.
Down to the hairpin for Wilson. This lap and another, and he won't run out of laps, but he may run out of fuel. Again, the traffic looming in the distance, but I'm not sure it's bothering him back there. It might be. Low downforce track. Here's the line. Let's see.
But he had a good segment time. Of course, they're telling him on the radio that he does and is on his last lap. Now, as long as he doesn't catch this group of traffic or some other, Justin Wilson at the moment is starting to gather up some quicker split times on Bourdais. Amazing, we see Bourdais back out on the racetrack, has decided to go with another set of tires.
Well, but we'll wonder if he's going to lean on him or just get him warm and wait to see whether he needs a hot lap. But at least he's out there in position to defend his pole. I'm sure he considers it his pole at a moment's notice. There goes Allmendinger across the stripe, 122.548. He's done 10 laps. That was not faster than before. Wilson also working on another lap.
He's 2/10 down right now. And that would put him ahead of A.J. Allmendinger. However, a couple cars involved.
Bach down there as he goes away. That's at the hairpin where they so often get bunched up and they get a little nudge down there. You don't hurt cars dramatically down there very often.
Okay, where's Justin? There he is. He still has a shot here. I don't think for P1, but possibly P2.
And he moves up, 120.932. So Wilson swaps spots with his teammate and heads straight to the pits. His fuel exhausted, his laps are not. He could do 3 more laps. If they want to drop some fuel in that and send him back out, he might have time.
Good job, Justin. P2 for now. They got in your way, but the tow kind of got it back for us a little.
Sebastian Bourdais on top in qualifying. For those not familiar, there is a parallel to the story of Wally Pipp in the Champ Car World Series. Wally Pipp came out of the lineup for the New York Yankees. Lou Gehrig went in and played more than 2,100 games in succession. Bruno Junqueira had the seat at Newman Haas. The high point of his season, though, the victory at Monterrey, Mexico. Who knew that only a week later, his season would come to an end? He would crash in the Indianapolis 500, and Bruno Junqueira has been on the sidelines ever since. The driver that moved in Oriol Servia. 5 podium places for Oriol Servia at Newman Haas since moving over to take the seat of his good friend Bruno Junqueira. He's trying hard to get back, and understandably so. Oriol Servia with great success, always reputed to be a great driver, now with a top team, has top flight equipment, and has been up on the podium regularly in the Champ Car World Series. And have a look at the success of Oriol Servia since taking over the ride at Newman Haas. Struggles with Dale Coyne Racing in the first couple of events of the season, but great success with Newman Haas. Close to victory on a couple of occasions, and he'd like to have one in Montreal. The final moments of our qualifying coverage from Circuit Gilles Villeneuve continue as our Molson Indy Montreal coverage continues next.
A while ago, we talked about pit tank placement and how it affects fuel flow into the car. Maximum height has to be back and all that sort of thing. Does that mean, with everything being equalized up and down pit road, that you can't help win the race with fueling? Doesn't mean that at all. Ask yourself this question. In a pit stop, if you're going to spend around 10 seconds fueling, why would you rush with the tires to get it done in 6 seconds? The answer is, as soon as the tires are done, the car can go back down 4 inches, about, but it's lower. Fuel flow increases. The other thing it does is when the car drops, the fueling hose straightens out just a little bit, and that's a gain as well. So there's more acceleration for the fuel going into the car. What's that worth in a pit stop? Well, some guys think maybe 2/10 or 1/10 or maybe less than that. But the point is, it's worth something. And in this game, something is worth a lot at the other end of pit road.
Only a couple of minutes remaining in our qualifying session. It's still Sebastian Bourdais up on top. Can anybody displace him? Let's go back to Jan Beekes and Chris McClure to find out.
A.J. Allmendinger is on his 13th lap, about to conclude it, trying to track down Justin Wilson. We'll see if he makes it at the line, although I don't think this is a particularly significant lap. 1:21.1, so it's not, and he comes into the pits, so his qualifying day may be done. Rousport in 2nd and 3rd. I mean, that's not a bad day's work, no matter how you slice it.
And Paul Tracy, of course, has exhausted his laps. Oriol Servia is still out on the course, but you would think that 2nd and 3rd may well be safe for Rousport, but you never know because the track will get faster with only 2:38 to go.
And also out there, not on the board in front of you, but Alex Tagliani as Dominguez comes into the pit, having finished his qualifying run. That's all of the laps that he'll get. Tagliani's out there. He's in an active mode. It is getting cleaner on the track in terms of the number of cars out there. And Tagliani has 3 laps left to use before he has to come back into the pit, so he may have something in store for them in terms of the top 5. I'm not thinking about getting to Bourdais, but I am thinking about getting into the top 5 for him. A fellow who has always fared reasonably well from a qualifying and racing standpoint on this circuit. He likes it. Andrew Ranger, meantime, is circulating. He's well down the list in 14th place in his 13th lap. He had a big hit qualifying yesterday that brought out the red flag with about 10 minutes to go in the session. We feared for his legs and some injury, but he was checked out at the medical center, never left the track, and was fit and fine within a half an hour or so, and signed off to get back into the car. That was good news.
It is a case as we see Timo Glock again. It's a couple times we've seen Timo off. He shows some bursts of speed in certain parts of the racetrack, but as you said, you watch Timo's spin there. That's a case of just being a little bit too high on entry, and there's a nice grippy part of the racetrack, but you don't have to be very far off the line.
Well, they did a complete change in, not a complete change, but a differential and gearbox change between the session this morning and the qualifying. They were having trouble getting power down, and were making an adjustment, and maybe they just went in the wrong direction.
That was more of a braking in line approach issue. I don't know that that has as much effect on the differential, but it's a case where we know that Timo, with some F1 experience, he's been here before. He is very aggressive. He wants to get everything he can out of this car, but this is a place that you can't overdrive, especially in a champ car.
Into the pits he goes, so Timo Glock, who was up well in the top 10 for a while, while, is now back to the 11th position on the grid as it currently stands.
But Bourdais, believe it or not, doesn't need it, but Bourdais is out on the racetrack just burning it up at the moment, doing faster and faster split times. Everyone here on pit road, and the fastest man on the racetrack out there trying to improve yet again.
And there he is, Sebastian Bourdais, working lap number 12, the 4th trip around, I believe it is, on this set of tires. And on the straightaway, here he comes. Had good segments.
Well, he had good segments, but now I think he realizes he doesn't have to push quite that hard. He doesn't improve. Still a fantastic lap, but amazing.
And the checkered flag is waving over him, so he won't get another lap. He is done. He gets to do this one.
Yeah, the way the checkered flag works is now you can tell he's not at speed, but if he chose to be at speed, you do get credit for this lap with the timing line being before the pit entrance.
But to what purpose at this point? He is number 1.
Actually, I jumped the gun. He has had a couple of decent segments. I think that Sebastian Bourdais, again, doesn't need it, but wants to lower the mark. And Servia, his teammate, goes to second.
So he was out late, so was Bourdais, and Servia turns in the second quickest time of the weekend. It could be an all-Newman Haas front row. In fact, it's going to be now. I think everybody else is in. Let's see, in pit. Who else is active? Tamada's still.
Okay, so there, Kenny Seawick was telling him there on the radio, essentially take care of the tires, your P1, Orioles P2, so therefore they're coaching him saying, we don't need to burn up these tires, let's save them.
So he'll just come into the pits this pass. The checkered has been waved. That top 5 you see there is what's going to be the top 5 when they start the race on Sunday afternoon.
Wow. Good goal.
Sebastian Bourdais, pole number 4 on the season. The car just keeps getting better and better for you.
Yeah, I think the team pulled off a very nice job this weekend. The car was, as we left it last year, which was really good. Still improved it, and it paid off today. And you know, very happy for this McDonald's crew. They did an awesome job.
Each track has its own personality, especially this one where there's so much concrete mixed with the pavement. Big advantage starting on the front row tomorrow.
Yeah, it's obviously there are quite a few opportunities to pass around here, but you know, it's the safest place to start from.
Sebastian, thanks a lot.
Sebastian Bourdais, the provisional pole Friday, won the pole today, 41 starts and 14 wins, 17 poles. Absolutely startling numbers for a guy 2.5 years into a Champ Car career, working on his second driving championship, and now has opened up a sizable lead. 55 points. It was 53 when we gathered yesterday. Now it's 55. Will it be more tomorrow? Well, he's going to answer that question, as he always does with his driving skill. We'll be back to set up the starting grid from top to finish right after this timeout. Welcome back. Here is the Canadian standings after qualifying on Friday and Saturday. Here's where they'll start in the grid. Tracy 5th, Tagliani 6th, and Andrew Ranger had a very tough weekend, 14th. But the breaking story here, of course, is a Newman Haas front row. With more on that, let's go over to Chris and Jan.
Well, that part of it's not unusual, Jim. Newman Haas on the front row, and a lot of contenders that we're familiar with up front, but I think it's an intriguing mix as well up front.
I think it has. It's been a great battle. Certainly a couple of those teams we thought were going to pull up towards the front did. Rousport could certainly be a challenger.
Sebastian Bourdais starts on the pole, flanked on the outside by his teammate, Oriol Servia. They have been mates on the podium more often than not throughout the entire summer. The second row, one of the interlopers, returning to the fore, really, Justin Wilson and A.J. Allmendinger.
You look at Rousport there, think about the fact for A.J. or Justin Wilson, when you start in the second row, usually starting third is better, but maybe not here with the combination corners. Could work for A.J.
Next row is a Canadian row with Tracy on the inside and Alex Tagliani flanking him on the outside. Alex Tagliani likes this place. He could perform well tomorrow. Then Dominguez and Cristiano D'Amata.
And for Cristiano, we heard him say that they thought this would be a good course for them. I know they wanted to qualify higher, but they'll be fast in the race.
Jimmy Vasser, the veteran, on the inside of the next row, row 5. And then Nelson Philippe, who's beginning to come on a little bit here in the second half of the season. Timo Glock and Rodolfo Levine. Levine coming off a great performance at Denver, and Glock has experience here than Ryan Hunter-Reay and Andrew Ranger.
The crash row. They both had big crashes. Amazing that Andrew Ranger escaped without injury, but they will both struggle because they missed track time.
And the next two rows, we have all rookies. Bjorn Verdheim on the inside of row 8, Ricardo Sperafico on the outside, and then we move back one notch further. Ronnie Brimmer, who's had a good year in the Rookie of the Year race, and Marcus Marshall rounding out the field. Now, Jan, with all of the runners and riders poised to take the green flag tomorrow, what are the keys?
I think the first thing you need to look at, funny enough, are braking temperatures. You say, what's the big deal about braking temperatures? This is the highest brake rotor temperature of any racetrack on the Champ Car World Series circuit, meaning that you go super fast, you jam on the brakes, and that means the drivers have to be a bit careful. Now, there is, however, some weather in the offing. We could have some showers, then who cares about brake temperatures? All the setups go out the windows. That could be wild. And finally, the golden horseshoe. If you've been following Paul Tracy versus Sebastian Bourdais, Paul Tracy said that the key to Sebastian Bourdais' success was a golden horseshoe. We won't tell you where Paul said he kept it, but it's all about luck. And I think that Sebastian Bourdais is fast, but he's had a fantastically lucky season. It's been working for him so far.
And this racetrack has a habit of dealing doses of luck in strange ways to a lot of different people. It will be an interesting run before the checkered flag falls.
Thanks very much, Chris and Jan. We look forward to your call tomorrow and setting up the race. And now, you know, when you talk about Bourdais' luck, he's had bad luck here. The guys who quietly went about their business and did a fine job today were Servia and Wilson as well.
Well, you're right. Justin Wilson, of course, got his first career Champ Car victory in Toronto. He'd love to have another one. And Oriol Servia has come very close. He came very close at this racetrack a couple of years ago, and Michel Jourdain ended up the winner. And Oriol Servia a little bit upset about that, saying it was maybe not a legal move, but he did give away the victory to Michel Jourdain. Maybe it is Oriol Servia that finally cracks the seal, gets his first Champ Car World Series victory. He's been on the podium an awful lot for Newman Haas, and maybe he can get the win tomorrow.
And speaking of tomorrow, Todd Lewis, our coverage starts at 1, race day coverage live across the global television network, 1 in the east, 10 in the west, and of course setting up to green flag coverage, which starts at 1:45 or thereabouts in the east. Thanks for allowing us into your homes tonight, and join us tomorrow. It should be a fun day. The Molson Indy Montreal, 4th edition.
It's one of the most popular tourist attractions.
One driver to spoil Bourdais' day will be Paul Tracy. Last year, Bourdais in a 3-race winning streak. Paul Tracy ended that in Vancouver. But lately, these two have tangled again. For example, in San Jose, Tracy chased Bourdais all weekend long and could not catch him. And then in Denver, Tracy setting the pace and crashed out. Bourdais was there to snap up the victory that was really created by that accident. And as far as Paul Tracy is concerned, he has struggled mightily of late. There's the first half of his season. There is the second half, a different story. Let's go to Don Martin.
If you go back to the Molson Indy Toronto, it could have been the turning point of the season for Paul Tracy as he exited the pits with Sebastian Bourdais. You recall they came together. Tracy briefly had the upper hand, Bourdais suffering a flat tire, but Sebastian rallied, came back and finished 5th in that race, while as we all know, Paul Tracy ran out of fuel. And that's almost symbolic of the way things have gone since then, with Tracy dropping 55 points off the lead in the driver's standings. Now, no one would ever doubt his commitment, but his well-publicized foray into NASCAR at least raises the question. And obviously, while Tracy would love to go out a winner, and he has stopped the 3-race winning streak by Sebastian Bourdais a year ago, you have to wonder if he and team players still have that single-minded determination to get it done. Jim?
Thank you very much, Don. And of course, with 5 races left, including today's, people have to speak up in a hurry. And that had to happen on the weekend in qualifying. But unfortunately for the rest of the pack, it did not. Let's go to Friday qualifying. Sebastian Bourdais comes out and takes the provisional pole, had the best time. The session was shortened due to this accident to Andrew Ranger with about 9 minutes to go. Goes into the wall. It looks worse than it is, and that's great news. The Champ Car medical staff, the safety team right on the scene. And all this is precautionary. We can thank God for that. They took him to the medical center, gave him about a half hour of observation, and pronounced him fit to compete on the weekend. But of course, Bourdais had the provisional pole. Saturday, very hectic and very exciting. Justin Wilson, the winner in Toronto, misfortune in Edmonton, but there he is on Saturday, setting the tone and quietly going about business. But of course, Sebastian Bourdais spoke up loud and clear, and he set the tone and took P1, so he got 2 championship points and silenced the crowd basically, and certainly silenced his competitors. If you look at the standings, a 55-point lead, as Don mentioned, the real battle is between 2nd and 6th, and of course that is for pride. As far as the grid today, Paul Tracy, the top Canadian, Alex Tagliani right behind him, and Andrew Ranger is 14th, who is starting to come out of what is a tough weekend for him. More on the grid now. Let's go down to Todd and Chris.
Well, qualifying was very exciting. In fact, one of the most exciting qualifying sessions that we've seen all season long, particularly on Saturday. But once again, for the fourth time this year, we're finding Sebastian Bourdais on the point.
And his companion so often this midsummer with him on the front row. Sebastian Bourdais with yet another pole, and Oriol Servia flanking him on the outside. That's row one. And then it's Rousport in the next row. Justin Wilson on the inside. He's won a race this summer. A.J. Allmendinger, a fellow who had a confidence crisis in midsummer, but came back at Denver with a podium and now looks pretty strong here in Montreal.
In the third row, it's a row of Canadians. Paul Tracy, the closest man to Sebastian Bourdais in the championship standings, trying to catch up to him. A couple of victories this year. He'll need more victories if he's going to catch him for the end of the season. Alex Tagliani alongside in row number 3. Tracy's teammate Mario Dominguez on the inside of row number 4. Again, very strong at times, a resurgence over the last couple of events. And Cristiano D'Amata in 2002, he is one of the men to make it 4 straight victories. He had a victory here in Montreal on his way to a championship that season. He may be far enough back to have strategy come in.
Next row, Jimmy Vasser, the veteran on the inside, D'Amata's teammate. They've struggled with his setup all weekend long, and Nelson Philippe, he's shown pretty good speed sometimes during the summer. He may like this course. Timo Glock on the inside of the next row. He comes here with Formula One experience. As a rookie in Formula One, he scored points on this circuit. He likes it here, but he struggled with the setup. And then Rodolfo Levine, who didn't get the lap he wanted in qualifying, felt the red flag cost him a chance to be in the top 5.
Ryan Hunter-Reay has had a miserable season, but bounced back with a 6th in Denver. Well, Andrew Ranger, boy, we know it. He had his struggles with a crash during qualifying. He's further back as well. Jorn Bertheim also with F1 experience, and Ricardo Sperafico on the inside of the next row.
Now that does it. 18 runners and riders ready to go from here in Montreal. It's going to be 79 laps or 2 hours, and not all of them are going to get to the end. We expect at least some yellow, but this place tends to stay green for long segments. It's going to be a good race.
Pit strategy will come into it as well, Jim.
Thanks very much, Chris and Todd, and we'll see how that develops. We'll see how the weather develops, and on-ice track activity is starting to build as we count down to the green flag. There you see it. 33 minutes until we get started here. Now more on Champ Car Racing.
Champ cars do not carry onboard starters, so it is a good idea not to stall the car during a race. Now, if you spin out there and stall the engine, sometimes the safety team will give you a bump start and off you go. If you stall in the pits, it can be problematic. Now, years ago, when you stalled in the pits, they'd get out the starter, but the shaft was about this long, and the receiver was right about here on the car. It was easy to find. You could get it done fairly quickly, although you didn't want to do it at all. These days, with the Lola, the shaft is now this long, and the receiver for the starter is way back under there. It's hard to find. The left rear guy, when he's done, he takes that off the wall, and if he has to use it, he's got to get way down there and try and find it and get the car restarted. You know, there's an old saying in rock and roll that says, get your motor running, get out on the highway. Around here, the refrain is, keep your motor running at all costs. Otherwise, it might cost you like 20 seconds. That happened to Alex Tagliani here just last year.
Welcome back to Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, the site of the Molson Indy Montreal, the 4th running around this beautiful facility made for racing. F1 cars have been here for a number of years, and now the Champ cars take their laps around. They'll do a total of 79, and it's a very fun track to drive, Chris.
It is. It's challenging, it's smooth, and it is really something for the drivers to experience. On the front straightaway, 150 miles an hour, then turn 1 there and turn 2. Watch Alex Tagliani, big correction at about 100 miles an hour. Now up the hill they go through the gearbox, about 150 here, then down to about 90 in this corner. This is where rhythm takes over. You got to be very smooth through here. 135 through this sequence of turns, and then up to about 150 on turn 5 just ahead right here, the right-hander, where Andrew Ranger got in trouble the other day and whacked the wall pretty hard. If you get offline there, you pay for it dearly. Then the long straightaway to 170 miles an hour, then turn 9 and 10. Listen to the gearbox as he works through this sequence. Very important right here. Watch the wall come up. You got to judge the exit just perfectly. Then again, back up through the box to 170 miles an hour and all the way back down to second to turn number 11. Very important here, even though it's low speed, because exit on the other side is incredibly important. Right here. Pound that throttle. Pound it. Through turn 12, 13 is coming up. It's really an apex on the right, kind of a kink. Right there, boom. And now you're looking for the break point. Here it comes up on the upper left. You see the countdown markers. And listen to him work that gearbox down to about 80 miles an hour right now. Right-hander, left-hander, see the curve? Don't go on it too far. You'll tear the bottom out of the car.
Certainly not what the drivers want to do. As we mentioned, it is 79 laps around today for the race at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. It is a workout for these drivers as they head around here. That was a lap with Alex Tagliani, and he's one of the quick drivers that we'll want to watch.
He was very confident this morning, even warming up in the wet. He thought he had a competitive race car. They left the dry setup in, and he got out smiling. He said, I'm going to be able to race with this thing.
Now we're looking forward to that. Alex Tagliani, of course, starting from row number 3. Jim Taddy, he's one of the ones in row number 3 Canadians to watch Paul Tracy to his inside.
Thank you very much, Chris and Todd. And of course, we're going to talk a lot about Sebastian Bourdais. Paul Tracy is his nemesis, and Alex Tagliani and Andrew Ranger are going to be the subject of some conversation and coverage as we count you down to the green flag. 27 minutes to go. Features on Ranger and Tagliani coming up live on the Global Television Network right after this timeout. One of the stories on the track is Alex Tagliani, pretty well his home course here. There you see he's had 3 teams in 4 years, and of course he's always competitive, may not always have the best car on the track, but certainly puts in a good day at the office. 3rd in Toronto. We pick up a feature with him now with a scene from Denver, where he raced for the 100th time in the Champ Car circuit.
Ready?
Everything I did in those 100 races made me a better driver, made me understand more about Champ Car, about racing, about setups. There's not really anything that I regret. I would have loved to jump in Champ Car younger. Well, some people say, well, you know, you did it, so there's really nothing to regret and to wish for. It surprised me. I mean, I was talking with many people, and especially with my wife, about the move, you know, and I was like really afraid and anxious about what was going to happen, because when you are an experienced driver and, you know, like people expect from you to be competitive, sometimes being in a team that is unexperienced with a certain car and for many reasons cannot put a top car on the track, then it could make you look bad. But then on the second race, we were on the podium, and in Long Beach we were pretty competitive with 1 day of test in Sebring. The fact that the chemistry is good between us, and Derek loves the way we work, and I love the way the team works in a race weekend and the organization that they have, and that's why we were able to, you know, like pound some good results and good qualifying, and where we are right now. Yeah, I like it, and I have no choice, because as a driver, if I come in a team that, you know, is running a car for the first time, and, you know, I just hope that they're going to do the best they can and give me the fastest car and I'm going to put it on the front, then I don't think it will be fair to them, because the reason why they wanted to have an experienced guy that could go fast and could bring some data along him is try to get involved and to, you know, bring the level of the speed of the car quicker. And for me to be involved and to work so hard, I think they appreciate that, and they were kind of expecting it, that I was going to get involved to help them. Actually, I said 2 years ago that this series was going to be probably one of the best series in open wheel in the world, and I knew that Jerry Forsyth and Kevin Kalkoven and Paul were not going to put any of their own money in something that they didn't believe, and they have like this vision of trying to make the Champ Car series like an affordable series, so like team could be strong with a decent budget, and with those guys behind, you know, they have their art, their money, and the passion, and it's just going to get better and better.
Alex Tagliani is in his 5th Champ Car season, but for the 2nd year in a row, he's driving for a rookie team, and that's a big disadvantage when you're competing against the Newman Haas and Team Forsyths of the world, where success is measured in terms of pole victories and race wins. For Tagliani and Team Australia, it's all about laying the foundation, gaining that valuable experience until they can compete on an equal footing. Now, eventually, the team will catch up to the driver in terms of experience, but until then, Tagliani goes into each race as a David against a bunch of Goliaths. But as we know, Jim, every once in a while, those long shots come in. Jim?
Thank you very much, Don. The other local driver on the spot today is Andrew Ranger. And you can see he's coming off a 10th in Denver, 2nd in Monterey. That was his 2nd ever race on the Champ Car circuit. So there's plenty in the way of expectations for him, not only from those that watch the circuit, but he has a few expectations of his own. We learn more on the rookie, Andrew Ranger, in this featured report.
You know, somebody would say Ranger go too quick in the Champ Car, but you know, I showed to the people in the beginning of the season I was very fast, top 10 every time. You know, I feel very comfortable in the car. The car goes very well. The team likes me. The team like that because I'm very young and I learn pretty fast. But you know, I think I feel very comfortable in the car. I think it's for that I can go pretty quick. No, I don't think it's easy. You know, that time I was working very hard. It was a tough race. In Mexico, the temperature was very hard. My car was very perfect. I was so easy to drive that car that weekend. Was very fun. But first podium and the 2nd race ever in a Champ Car was fantastic. I think it was good for the MyJack team and myself. Right now, I feel very good with that. You know, it was the timing was fine, was good. The luck was with me. Everything was my side. For me, the beginning of the season was in the hop, and the month July was pretty tough. Three race and DNF was very tough for me probably because I was pushing probably a little bit too much. The setup of the car was not perfect, but I think you know, racing you have a up and down, and right now I passed them and the down. But for me, it's very important. You know, I won last year in the Toyota Atlantic. I know it's got to be tough. Timo Glock, he raced in Formula 1 last year. He's the rookie. Ronnie Bremer and me. I think, you know, it's two good drivers. But to win that thing, I think it's very important for me. It's one of my big races. I think it's my big race. The second was Toronto, but Montreal, it's a nice track. I like that track. My family's there, my friends. Fantastic to come back at home, to see the fans in the stand. And I think in Montreal, it's one of my big races. I want to do something well. My sponsor here, Savitel and Tide, they come here to see me. You know, I feel pretty good. I don't have a big stress. I feel pretty comfortable. It's strange because, you know, I was pretty young and I was watching the Champ Car in the TV. Jimmy Vaster, Cristiano Namada, Paul Tracy. And now I sit in my car and I say, wow, it's unbelievable. I'm 18 and I race in a Champ Car and I see just in front of me Paul Tracy, Jimmy Vaster, Alex Tagliani. I think it's unbelievable. Now it's a big dream. I realize it's a very, very big dream.
It has been anything but the happy homecoming for Andrew Ranger this weekend, and it started to come apart Friday when he hit the wall hard coming out of turn 5, taking out the left side of the car. He was in the clinic for a half an hour, and they cleared him to race again on Saturday, but then he brushed the wall again, damaging the front wing. As a result, severely curtailed track time, limited spare parts. So for Andrew Ranger, while he'd love a top 10, starting from the 14th position on the grid, he just has to keep it off the fence, and just keeping the car in one piece would constitute a moral victory. Jim?
Thank you, Don. The countdown continues. More pre-race coverage of the Molson Indy Montreal on the Global Television Network right after this timeout. Back live across the Global Television Network to Circuit Joe Villeneuve. You see 17 minutes to green flag, and you see the activity in the pit area as the countdown to the green flag continues. In about a minute or so, we're going to cut away to join NBC Sports for race coverage. We'll be back after to wrap it up. On the NBC team, two of our regulars, Chris McClure and Jan Beekes. Last night at supper, Jan Beekes told me this was Sebastien Bourdais' race. He is going to win it. That was his prediction. And certainly Sebastien Bourdais has had plenty to talk about this weekend. People tried to get at him in qualifying but couldn't, and this is the club he wants to join. 4 straight races. Unser Jr. in 90, Zanardi in 98, D'Amata in 02, and of course, all 3 of those guys went on to win the driving championship. And remember, Bourdais has 3 in a row and is currently the driving champion and will start in the front row. And he's right beside his teammate, Oriol Servia, the super sub. And the last 7 races for Newman Haas, second twice, third 3 times, fourth once. He knows where the podium is and quietly went about business this weekend, and of course slipped in right beside his teammate on the front row. The Rousport fellas are in the second row, Allmendinger and Wilson. You remember them, of course, from Edmonton, where they had disaster strike the both of them with 10 laps to go. Post-race coverage immediately following the race live on the Global Television Network. Now we join our friends at NBC Sports. Welcome to bonus post-race coverage live from Circuit Joe Villeneuve across the Global Television Network as we try to wrap up a very exciting afternoon. It was unbelievable, and I have to tell you, from our location here, our broadcast location, all of the action happened over my right shoulder. All I simply had to do was turn down there, and every time they went through that corner, it seemed something was going on. And in fact, the race was decided on a block where Timo Glock effectively blocked out Servia and was ordered to let Oriol Servia go by. And we talked a lot about Newman Haas and Sebastien Bourdais, but in fact it was the super sub Oriol Servia who in fact took this race and recorded his first win and sets up all kinds of scenarios. And we were talking also about Sebastien Bourdais winning 4 in a row. Well, that's not going to happen. But Newman Haas, in fact, wins 4 in a row as the team is unbeatable and impeccable on the Champ Car circuit. Here are the standings as we speak right now. They're right up to date, and you can see that Bourdais maintains his lead. In fact, has a bigger lead now because Servia has moved into second place, Tracy third, Justin Wilson, who had a fine afternoon, fourth, A.J. Allmendinger, who struggled and battled through a few things, fifth, Mario Dominguez, who had a similar afternoon as well, battling through to finish 10th, I believe. We'll go over the final standings later on, and he stands 6th in the standings. It's certainly an exciting afternoon. We've got some time here to sort it all out, but again, Oriol Servia, the benefactor of certainly a good call on blocking on Timo Glock. And here are the official results. Oriol Servia will finish first, Glock second, Justin Wilson third, Sebastien Bourdais fourth. Just a terrible pit stop, all kinds of problems there that took him out. Alex Tagliani battling through and finishing a very respectable fifth. Cristiano D'Amata finishing sixth. And as we flip the board over, Vassar, Tracy, Allmendinger, Dominguez, Andrew Ranger, who just had a terrible Friday and Saturday, quietly went about business, and a very respectable 11th for him. Ryan Hunter-Ray, who had a likewise just awful weekend as well. Verdheim, Rodolfo Levine, Nelson Philippe, Marcus Marshall, Ronnie Bremer, and Ricardo Sperafico, of course, out on contact, which really set off a bad chain of events. And a lot of it, as I mentioned, in this final section of turns heading into the finish line at Pit Inn, really is where 80% of the action, mishaps, and excitement happened today. And when we recap the race, you'll see some of this stuff. But again, it's right over my shoulder, and they aggressively went through there. And they had to set a Circuit Joe Villeneuve record for using the green apron on that corner. And in effect, it cost Glock the race, because the last time there was contact there, he got bumped, was accused of blocking in order to let Servia pass. Now, we continue on with the post-race celebration here as we go now to the podium to make it all official for Oriol Servia.
What a finish, ladies and gentlemen, mesdames et messieurs, quelle fin de la course. Bon, ben, ils perdent pas de temps à se monter sur le podium. Alors, on va commencer ça tout de suite. Premièrement, Justin Wilson, mesdames et messieurs, en troisième place. Justin, let me get a quick word with you. You can stand down here. So far in Canada, a lot of good results for you. Tell us about your race.
Yeah, I think it's something about Canada. Having CDW on the card obviously helps. So, you know, we've had a great race. My guys did some great pit stops, and the car was excellent all race. So it's just a case of saving fuel, knowing when to push, and just putting ourselves in the best position possible for the end.
Well, congratulations, Justin Wilson, ladies and gentlemen. And there to present the trophy is Mrs. Ann Stevens, et c'est la vice-présidente du groupe Canada, Mexique et l'Amérique du Sud pour the Ford Motor Company. Elle peut aller chercher le trophée. En deuxième, son premier podium de l'année, une recrue avec l'équipe Rocket Sport. Mesdames et messieurs, Timo Glock. Timo, welcome to the podium. Tell us about your race.
I mean, first of all, it's a great feeling to be on the podium. I mean, we had a lot of chances this year and run out of luck and got some stop-and-go penalties or had other problems with the car. And I mean, now it's the point where we get everything together. Not in the qualifying, we had a couple of problems in the qualifying, but in the race, the car is unbelievable, consistent and really quick. And I had to start from 11, so I had to use all my push-to-pass at the beginning, and then I had only 2 shots left in the middle of the race, and I had to use that, and at the end I ran out of push-to-pass, and I think Oriol had a couple of more, and that was the reason why he came side by side, and I had to take the shortcut because there is no way to go side by side through the last chicane. Otherwise, you end up in the wall. So I had to take the shortcut. And it was clear after the second one. I said, "Oh my God! I hope I have 3 shots, 3 of a shortcut." But it didn't work. And in the last lap, Rob Hill, my crew chief, said to me, "You have to let him pass." And I said, "What? Are you kidding me? Or what's going on now? Why we have to let him pass? I mean." We had the quickest car in the race, and Rob and my engineer David did a great job. And I mean, Rob won 2 championships, and he knows how it works with the strategy. And when you come back with nearly a couple of gallons in the car, then it's pretty good. And they did a great job. My crew did a perfect pit stops, and I ran a pretty consistent race. And on one way, it's really disappointing when you have to give up the clear win at the end, but. I'm satisfied that for the team that we are on the podium, and it's great for my sponsor DHL. A couple of guests were here, and there they are, and I hope I put a good show on it, and it was a great race for us.
Well, you certainly did, ladies and gentlemen. Timo Glock, his first podium, one of many in his career, and there, Madame Sylvie Leduc will present the second place trophy. Évidemment, Madame Leduc, le vice-présidente du développement du marché pour Molson, Québec. Et le vainqueur, mesdames et messieurs, sa première victoire de carrière, Monsieur Oriol Servia. I should say to you, Oriol, welcome to the top step of the podium. Tell us about your race.
I'm just extremely happy, as you all can imagine. I've been working very hard. Actually, 03, I lost the win in that same corner that I got it today. To Michel Jourdain, who did a kind of similar move that I did on Glock today. So I'm just really happy finally got it. We've been very close. Fantastic job for my crew. I mean, we passed Sebastian on the pits, and he's obviously the toughest out there to pass. So they did the hardest job. And then I passed Timo. I'm just really glad how everything went on and how the whole season's been going. In a way, I thank Bruno. Obviously, not that he wanted this way, but I know he's happy for me. I thank the whole team, Pacific Air, and I'm just extremely happy to be at the top.
Oriol Servia, ladies and gentlemen, his first career victory. And Madame François Gauthier a l'honneur de lui présenter évidemment le ministre du Tourisme pour le gouvernement du Québec. Oui, il est lourd, le trophée. Évidemment, il y a aussi un trophée pour l'écurie gagnante. Mesdames et messieurs, s'il vous plaît, Paul Newman et Carl Haas, l'écurie Newman-Haas, pour recevoir le trophée, le Constructors Championship Trophy, comme on appelle, et voilà. Madame Françoise Gauthier, encore une fois, va présenter. Oh, they've been up on that podium so many times. Encore une fois, mesdames et messieurs, Justin Wilson, Timo Glock et Oriol Servia. On remercie les demoiselles qui ont présenté les trophées. On va faire descendre M. Newman et M. Haas. S'il vous plaît, vous pouvez enlever vos chapeaux, vos casquettes. Un autre. Félicitations. All right, gentlemen, remove your hats. It's now time for the national anthem of Spain.
You never get tired of the thrill of victory shot. Look at that face. He's mighty pleased and mighty happy, and he's mighty patient, redefining patience. It was a race that was so exciting it left you wanting more. And we have more as bonus post-race coverage continues live on the Global Television Network. Welcome back to Circuit Villeneuve, and there is the celebration shot, and Oriol Servia being the most aggressive of the bunch, and why not? He had a great afternoon. Now let's go down for further commentary to Todd Lewis and Don Martin. Fellas, what a race.
It certainly was, Jim. In fact, Don, it was almost two races within one. The first two-thirds of it very clean, but it all changed about two-thirds of the way through.
What are the odds we go 58 laps without a yellow flag, and then when Sparrofico hit the wall, it caused that massive open pit stop under yellow that really changed the race around. And I mean, the lead changed, but I think the biggest impact was on Paul Tracy, hitting the wall, a rookie mistake that dropped him all the way down to 8th, and oddly enough, Sebastian Bourdais comes out beyond the lead pack, but he wound up finishing 4th, which is where he figured he had to finish a 4th place for the rest of the season, and he'd have the championship clinched, and he took a step in that direction today.
Well, we figured pit stops would certainly play a role in this one. Justin Wilson, he got out quicker than Sebastian Bourdais, of course, because Bourdais also had trouble during his pit stop. It was a problem with the left rear tire. There was some indecision about how much fuel to put into the car, and it got a little bit difficult in the Sebastian Bourdais pit. But Oriol Servia comes up a victor for the first time. Not quite 100 races first, but Oriol Servia does get the win.
Well, car number 2, and he was second in Toronto. He was second at Edmonton, first finally here in Montreal. So a pretty good Canadian swing for Oriol Servia, and I think everybody appreciates the story of a guy who really had to be given a chance, and once he got it, has really made the most of it.
Well, up on the podiums for 6th time, Jim, and now up on the top step here in Montreal.
Thanks very much, Todd and Don. And, you know, when you do the video recap of the race, which is where we're going to go next, there's so many things happened, but most of them right over my right shoulder. Pit out and pit in. Very active, and the rest of the course didn't seem to matter. This is the start. Everything gets off to a really good start. We were told that Bourdais used the power to pass button there to make sure that nobody got by him, and he was in control for the first third of this race. On lap 14, and again, this is that location that's right by pit in. Wilson passes Servia for second, and that's where all the passing took place pretty well on today's race. You'll see some action here as Dominguez beats Tagliani on pit out, which was another key point on the weekend. And Chris McClure, of course, mentioned that this would be, and the pits are certainly an interesting battle here. Now look at this. This is the first big pit stop, and the top 5 come out in unison, and this time they get it right according to what Sebastian Bourdais wanted. Nobody altered their position. A nice clean exit there with no position being altered, and Bourdais still in control. From there we go to lap 32, where the battle goes on for 4th and 3rd. Allmendinger takes Servia there. Servia takes it back. So that's how competitive this was. Allmendinger actually clipped the curb there. Take a look at it again, and you will see that Allmendinger comes in a little hot on the inside of that curb. And again, this is the location right by pit in, bounces there, and that allows Wilson to slip by him. Servia, sorry, it was Servia who slipped by him. On pit out again, lap 41, Tracy scooping A.J. Allmendinger on the exit. There it is. So Tracy able to move up. And Allmendinger hot in his tail for the rest of the next lap. Goes into the hairpin there, and Tracy forces him wide. And again, as they came out of that and towards the rest of the track, towards the finish line, they were on each other's tail, but Tracy came through. Now this sets off a bad chain reaction. Lap 58, Sparafico loses a wing or a flap. It goes right over Tracy's car, and it goes right into Allmendinger's right front, cuts his tire, and forced him into the pits. There it is there. That tells you what happened to his front tire, and he hobbled around for a lap, pitted in. Now, this is where it really gets interesting. The second major group of pit stops, and on the exit, you can see the lead car. Bourdais is in all kinds of trouble. That's lap 61. Oriol Servia gets out of there, and he jumps in front. Wilson gets in front of him. Tracy, as they come into the corner, has all kinds of trouble as well. Now, watch this as Tracy goes into the pit, hits a tire, hunts a tire, and then precariously bumps one of his crew members. Dangerous stuff, but luckily everybody was okay. As we resume the action, Wilson in lap 65 drops to 4th as Servia scoots by him. And again, this is in that same location. Bourdais goes by, and there's that green apron that everybody seemed to use with record amounts today. And again, the same location. Watch it there. That's Glock going through, and he has the lead. And actually, Servia wanted to take him out, but couldn't slip by him. And a scene similar to that cost Glock the lead. There's Wilson again, taking 3rd as he spins by again. This is all in the same corner. That's lap 71. This is the Glock block, if you will. Lap 77, a little contact on the inside here, and Glock goes on that green apron, and the Champ Car officials say that is a block, and they ordered Glock to hand over the position, allow Servia to pass him, and that's really how the race was won, right there. And here we go on the end. Glock still chasing Servia, but he's not going to be able to do it. It looked like Glock was going to be the benefactor of an early pit stop, but that one move in that final turn where so much happened today was his downfall. Oriol Servia winning for the first time. And Newman Haas 1 and 2 in the driving championship. More post-race coverage right after this. Welcome back to Montreal. Great day for Servia, but what about Timo Glock? Bittersweet. His second place finish today, certainly his best. Leads all rookies with 146 points. Now, as you saw in our coverage, John Beekes and Chris McClure were in the pits for NBC Sports as they provided us our play-by-play coverage this afternoon. We go down to the pits to check in with Chris and Jan now. And, fellas, that green apron in the final turn served a record amount of time today.
It did indeed. It was a factor in the race. It often is for a variety of reasons, including the big curb that was there. But, Jan, looking at the race in its entirety, we knew that the pit windows were going to be very tight, and really I don't think anybody expected that a guy who stopped early on the third stop was going to get the advantage, but Timo did.
No, it was a case where the pit window did open a little bit early. It was a case where he pitted right as that window did open. And I think when you do pit early like that, it gives you the unique opportunity, which is exactly what happened. If you get a full course caution, it was just a huge bonus for Timo Glock.
Now, what do you do in this situation when you've got the guy on your hip named Servia, and you've already gotten through the apron once and gotten away with it? Do you let him go? Do you have any option there? Do you do what he did?
Well, I think that Timo Glock did the smart thing, and that is he fought to the death. And I think when you fight to the death, unfortunately, you can't take two cars all the way in through that chicane. If Timo Glock would have fought all the way to the apex, they both would have crashed. So he said, well, I'll just shortcut the chicane and maybe I'll get away with it. He got away with it once, but not the second time.
And Bourdais' performance today, some might say, well, he was a little off. I think he was a little prudent.
Yeah, I think the team told him to as well. They said, you know, we do not need to fight for this position. They had a slow pit stop. And anytime you have a bit of a slow pit stop, it was the inside rear. They said, okay, we've lost spots. Let's not fight. Championship's going to come our way.
And the championship still is his if indeed he can continue the kind of performances he's been having throughout the summer and into the fall. That's it from down here. We always knew this racetrack could throw a lot of curves at you. Did again today, and it was fun.
It certainly was, Chris and Jan. Thanks for your help on the broadcast. You know, you think back over to the 3 races we did this year for you, and you come up with first. Justin Wilson, his first win in Toronto. First ever Edmonton Grand Prix. What a success that was. And 2 firsts today. Oriol Servia hitting the podium as a winner for the very first time, although he's been there many times in second and third, and a first podium for Timo Glock as well. A very exciting race today. Plenty happening, and we hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for allowing us into your homes. So long from Montreal.